暗がりの中でふと名を呼ばれた気がした。誰？
The same morning as always, the sounds of machines echo from engine factories across the Thames. By now she was used to the high noises of the faraway engines, though they startled her when she first moved here. Even with her eyes closed, she could feel the presence of morning fill her surroundings. Sounds produced by the dirty flow of the Thames, the sounds of people leaving for work or school, the twitter of a few small birds. A normal morning, the same things she'd felt these past 2 years.
気のせいだろうか。今は特にそれを強く感じている。音を聞いているのに、まぶたを閉じた右目に像が浮かぶかのよ。
Signs of morning, sights of morning, a normal London morning. She slowly opened her eyes halfway and looked at the display on the non-engine type clock at her pillow. A clock whose hands went tick-tock, an old-fashioned clock, just like the clocks in her youth. In London, where engines moved even the clocks, she wanted to at least wake up without having to hear the sounds of engines. So she used an old clock, something from her mother, who got it from her own mother. There were still engine noises from the heating engine and the buildings around her, but she'd wanted to keep them off her bed at least. She wanted the kind of silence that reminded her of Wales, at least when she slept.
7時半。もう朝。おはよう、メアリー。
She says good morning to herself.
おはよう。
She whispered to the usual morning scenery, to the usual air. The same as usual, the smell of fried eggs and coffee with milk from the kitchen downstairs. The same as usual, the smell of the cologne she'd put on her clothes last night still lingered. She put cologne on her clothes? The same as usual, however, something was different.
違うのだとわかる。いつもと。黄金色の右目がそう告げている。そんな錯覚があった。起きないと。
She crawled out of her bed and opened the curtains on the window facing the Thames. She felt the sun that was supposed to be shining beyond the grey sky. As if the grey clouds were slightly whiter, but there wasn't enough light to say it was bright outside, it just felt whiter. She gazed upon the people walking to the main street or the underground station and felt morning even stronger, the time when people woke up and began to move. To the bathroom, she washed her face with plenty of cold water. London's tap water was cold, though not as cold as Wales' well water. It was perfect for face washing. It woke her up. Her stagnant mind began to clear. She remembered what she had to do today. Go to the Royal College as usual, and then... And then what?
本当に朝食はあれだけでいいの？後からお腹が空いてしまわないかしら。卵料理だけなんてダメよ。パンもちゃんと食べないと。
Why?
ごめんなさい。今朝はお腹が空いていなくて。
昨日も同じことを言っていたわね、メアリー。その前の日もそう。
I'm also never really hungry right after I woke up.
成人年齢が法律で下がったとは言っても、まだまだ育ち盛りなんですからね。ダメよ。ちゃんとたくさん食べないと。ね。
はい。ごめんなさい、ミセスハドソン。
心配なのはわかるけど、あなたがろくに食べずに倒れたりしたら本末転倒なのだからね。覚えておいて。
はい。
After eating breakfast downstairs, she went outside with Mrs. Hudson watching. Mrs. Hudson's calm eyes felt as though they saw through everything. That bothered her a little, yes, only a little. She was more bothered by herself for feeling that way. Mary sighed as she walked along the Thames. The smell from the Thames was as horrible as usual and would normally have made her grimace, but Mary didn't do that right now. It didn't bother her that much. Most of the information from her 5 senses somehow felt like events in a faraway dream. The same morning as usual, and yet something was definitely different.
少なくともこれはいつもと違うわよね。
A whisper, not to anyone. Her eyes moved towards a shadow, not her own. One shadow among the people and trees along that road. A shadow she would normally never look at. She could see something there, something she normally never saw. A silhouette. She didn't want to call it that because it didn't look human to her. More precisely, a human-shaped shadow. Human-shaped, but definitely not a human. Definitely not someone.
影人間
A shadow man? Who's that? What is
私にだ
that?
け見えるという人型の影監視役を務める影
Oh. By who? By
本
M?
当に不気味だわすごく不気味何なのかしら私だけに見えるっていうのは
She whispered, only to herself. A human-shaped thing wearing black clothes like his. No one seemed surprised, even though it was standing near the Thames wearing such conspicuous colors. None of the ladies and gentlemen passing by, nor any of the laborers on the other side of the Thames. No one looked at the strange white face. Was it really invisible to everyone else? At first she couldn't believe it, but is it really face? Looks more like a mask. Maybe it's the Slender Man. She tried looking at it, but the eyes wouldn't meet, because it had no eyes. She was surprised when she first saw it, not as much as when she saw the monsters in the Black City.
他の誰にも見えない彼の影これはきっとそう悪霊か何かなのだろうと思う契約を交わした私に取り付いた契約
The words rolled... What? The word rolls out of her mouth. No matter how much normality warped, she wouldn't forget it. No matter how bad her mood was, no matter how strange the things she saw were, no matter how much she feared the Black City and its monsters, she wouldn't forget. Yes, she'd made a contract.
助け出すの
Well, she didn't sign anything, or did she?
私がシャーリー
I'm in Chosen again. The man spoke. He was a man wearing a strange mask. It's probably the 5th time I read that, huh? It looked similar to clowns and like a French aristocrats from the previous century. A strange person. The mask and clothes made him think that. It is said that countless fictions spread from that man's mouth, that man who now began to speak to the person before him. A room with a strange pattern in its marble floor, the man sitting in the sofa, and one other were there. The room was strange, just like the man himself. A number of masks lined the old walls and bookshelves. People called it a space of tranquil knowledge, the same few people who spoke the man's name. A space of tranquil knowledge. In this place it is said that even an infant's whisper would surely reach his ears. A room made using knowledge from the organization the man belonged to, which even made possible the multiple simultaneous conversations performed by a holy man of the Far East. A secret room of darkness. Could it be called an altar?
さて、ここに我が輩は宣言するでしょ
Or
う。
would a room be called an altar? Of the beginning of the grand experiment, or the beginning of profound cognition. The start of a new era.
かのバスカビル港の悲しむべき事件は皆様の記憶にありましょう
The
や。
incident that saddened Sir Baskerville, I don't know about that.
我が輩にとっては記憶に新しく、昨日のように思い返すことができますが。
There was laughter in the man's voice, the one who spoke to was silent.
さて、しかして、バスカビルにあだなす怒りの獣。
Well, the Black Hound,
本年の最たる黒き魔剣はいかが
Hound
でしょ
of
う。
Baskerville, huh? The arch-enemy of the Baskervilles. There was ridicule in the man's voice, the one he spoke to was silent.
なるほど。そういうこともあるでしょうが、そうでないこともあるでしょう。
But he responds like the silent man talked.
さて、我らが愛してやまない人間の皆様、どうかご承覧あれ。何の仕掛けもございません。
Trick to what?
怒りとは、純粋なる人間の情念につきますれば。
Passion. And who are these people? That here could be Münchhausen. Maybe these people belong to the society. There was no sound and there was no voice, so the space was filled with silence and wordless prayers. It was in the past, at the end of 1904. 7 gathered together at a certain séance. One man made an announcement with his firm will towards his 6 comrades. There was something in the darkness, filling their surroundings. Was it writhing darkness, or was it red eyes? That shape seems familiar. Could it be that German guy, Heinz, or Horst? No, Heinz was his name. Or was it? I forgot. While surrounded by those countless somethings, the man spoke. In a loud voice, loud, but with a slight trace of fear. In a proud voice, proud but with strong faith.
そして
Lion,
俺は願いを叶える。それは終焉だ。それは願いの果てへと至る我が信念。俺は恐怖より解き放たれる。俺の信念はやがてタタールの門を開く。
why do you want to open the gates of Tartarus anyway?
だが俺は思う。俺は願う。この恐怖がもしも幻想であってくれればと。しかし俺はすでに知っている。俺の恐怖がまごうことなき現実であることを。この身を苛む俺の恐怖。それは不滅のはずの信念と思いがただ一陣の風に過ぎなかったとしたら。
Would you please finish your sentences, damn it? Man. Act 3, The White-Fanged Hound, Part 1. Are you talking about the dog of basketball?
おはようメアリー。
おはようアシェリカ。今日も元気いっぱいね。
そうよ、いつもアーシェは元気なんだから。
That's good.
朝食もたくさん食べてきたし、課題は何にもやってないし。
Perfect.
アーシェ
嘘2つはやってきましたよーだ。
全部でいくつ出てたの？
4つ。
Yay!
アシェリカ。シャーリーの代わりに私があなたにお説教してあげないといけないのかしら？
おしゃべりならいつでも大歓迎よ。いいの、2つの課題はお昼休みにやるの。
Despite Mary's annoyed face, Angie smiled, stood next to her, and had her arm casually, more intimately than with Howard. Maybe she's in love with Mary. She felt Mary's body heat through her arm. Angie heaved a sigh of relief on the inside. Here, the Royal College of Courtyard, Mary was standing there perfectly. A corner of Angie's mind wondered if she might disappear like Charlie. So, she did this to make sure. To make sure Mary was there, to make sure she was coming to the college every day. Been a month since then, Charlie had never come back to the Royal College. She remained asleep, still showing no signs of waking up. The disturbing Professor Chapek had disappeared. Rumors said he'd gone missing, but there wasn't as much commotion as when Charlie had fallen asleep. He had been seen as a visiting professor who might go back to his country at any time, or so Howard had told Angie.
そういえば、メアリーもあんまり驚いていなかったっけ？確かそう。
Because she was involved. That was true. Mary... Now that a month had passed, Mary was doing much better than she had been back then, a week after Charlie had collapsed. Unlike back then, Mary had been acting normal lately. However, what was it? Something still bothered Angie. She couldn't help being bothered by little things, for example, gestures or expressions. Angie felt a small doubt. Namely, is she going to disappear?
ねえメアリー、講義の予定ってどうなってる？
今日は午前中の講義だけね。木曜は特に午前中に集中してるから。
またカフェに行かない？ドアーズのいいのが入ったんですよってベルが言ってたの。あとアッサムも。
素敵ね。でもごめんなさいアシェ。
Mary's expression darkened. Angie thought she'd left something out. She waited for Mary's words. Normally she'd ask right away, but right now she quietly waited for Mary to say something.
予定があるの。人と会わないといけなくて。
She have to go meet M, huh?
誰と？
She has to go meet M.
ごめんね。どうしてアーシェに謝るの？メアリー。
She wouldn't tell her. Mary wouldn't say where she was going or who she was meeting. She looked at Mary's face, waiting for her to say more, but her lips wouldn't move. Silence. In the courtyard where young men and women were heading to their classes, the air between Angie and Mary warped. She felt that delusion.
秘密なの。アーシェに何も話してくれないの。1ヶ月前は話してくれたよね。ミスター・ホームズと約束したって。
On that day, on that night, at that time, she was so worried she thought she might go mad. Just remembering it made Angie scared. Then a killer appeared in the area near Mary, and Angie shook so much her teeth shattered. From what Mary told her, she'd got on the underground and gone home after the phone lines cut out. Angie was really glad to hear that nothing had happened to her.
何事もないならいいのよ。大好きなメアリー。
今日もそうなのよね、メアリー。何にもないんだよね。じゃあまた明日ね、メアリー。今度は一緒にお茶しよう。ええ、近いうちに。それじゃあ約束ね。クローディアさんのお店一緒に行くって。ごめんね。謝らないで、メアリー。用事があるなら仕方ないもの。でも約束したからね。極東だと約束破ると怖いのよ。
Is that right? Soon that promise made her so happy. But
でも明日じゃないんだね、メアリー。
not tomorrow, but soon. She hadn't expected much, but despite that, Angelica didn't get depressed. That promise made her happy more than anything, but it bothered her. She wondered what Mary was hiding from her. She thought that and
悲しいって感じちゃうよ、少しだけ。
clotted cream from the court's walls, engine-made, handmade-style strawberry jam, scones and tea. It looked simple, but was filled with flavor for a reasonable price. He'd hear that Angie really liked having this. She almost always asked for it when she came for afternoon tea. But whenever she came with Mary or Charlie, she'd ordered something else, since they always had something to recommend. However, today Mary and Charlie weren't there. They were having the Doors tea that Belle recommended, and the rest was Angie's usual. Such happiness. Yes, he, Howard, felt an indescribable happiness as he put the cup to his lips. The sensation of hot tea flowing down his throat felt good.
見事な香りだ。さすがは君のおすすめの店。さすがは君のおすすめのセットだね、ハニー。
Howard Phillips sat opposite his fiancée at a small table, enjoying himself. There was no greater pleasure for him, however, his fiancée's face wasn't bright.
お楽しみいただけていますですか？どうです？インドから飛空艇便で届けられたばかりの良い茶葉なんですけど、お口に合いますか？レディー・クローディアもお気に入りで、昨日も今日もご自分で入れて楽しまれてらっしゃるんですよ。それにあの夕暮れの君もドアーズは最高だっておっしゃってくださって。
The evening man? Who's that?
美味しい。
ああ、実に美味だ。芳醇で香り深く、新大陸人のこの僕でさえ、この紅茶が上品で良いものだとわかるとは。どうかご店主によろしく伝えてください。ありがとう。あと、夕暮れの君にも。
Yeah, that would interest me too.
はい、聞こえてらしたんですね。すみません。私、独り言大きくって。
この彼女の様子は何かいいことでもあったかな？
It probably wasn't his imagination. The waitress' smile seemed almost glossy. She felt healthy and gorgeous to him. This waitress was the same as him. Yes, Howard could tell. The same as his good fortune since the miracle of transferring to Oxford. No doubt he was feeling the good fortune called love from this girl. A sixth sense of someone also in love, a logical deduction. Howard jokingly thought it couldn't be anything like that. Howard had skipped lectures without a second thought and postponed meetings with business partners, all in order to come to this shop and pretend he had free time. He didn't care what plans he had, because he'd been hearing about this cafe for a long time. He'd wanted to experience it every time his beloved Angie spoke of spending time there with her friends. And today, right now, they had come true. He'd received a sudden engine phone call from Angie. She told him to have afternoon tea with her.
それじゃあごゆっくりしてらしてください。レディーがお戻りになったらきっとこちらへご挨拶に伺いますから。
ありがとう。
He nodded to the smiling waitress, watching her head off to another table. Howard spoke in a low voice, so that only his beloved fiancée could hear.
やれやれ。あれは恋の病にでも落ちたのかな。同じ病にかかっているから、僕にはピンと分かってしまうのだけどね。ハニー。
そうかも。
Angie nodded, looking down. Her expression looked rather dark. The same as when they'd driven together a month ago. Her gorgeous, slender body was full of worry. She was thinking about something while looking down. Normally she was filled with courage and pride, so she'd never ask for help. Even now Angelica didn't say anything.
けれどね、僕は一つ知ったのさ。
君が何よりも大切にする友人の苦難、それだけは勇気ある君さえ持て余す。
Perhaps because she cared so much about them, he opened his lips in silent prayer to God, so that he may be among those precious. Then he started up the conversation again with a calm voice. First, the casual topics he had prepared. Announcements about new engines. Gifts given to celebrate the Queen's health. Secret gifts from the north and east parts of Kadath. New technologies from the Light Kings and Nobles of Eastern Kadath. The theory underlying them being given to Britain. Stock prices for lace knitting engine factories, the present state of India, unexplored regions of Africa, the opening of the Paris to Calais highway. Why it was difficult for Harrods to get new cakes, the fact that they always sold out in an hour. And
バスカビル家の令嬢がここロンドンへ訪れたという噂があるんだ。社交界は盛り上がっているそうだよ。そうだ、アーシェリか。お姉さんや父君から何か聞いていないかい？
Was the Baskerville family that influential?
どうだったかな。お姉様、何か言ってたかも。
Her sister? Her head was in the clouds, so to speak. Howard made a sad face, but asked with a kind voice. He would never criticize her. No, not doubting her, but making sure, cautiously, in case he couldn't be asking about it.
気になることがあるようだね、ハニー。僕が尋ねてもいいことかな。
気になることあるの。
何かな？
Probably something to do with the girl with the golden eye, Angelica's other close friends still hadn't woken up. In which case, just like the last drive.
そうなの。心配事、メアリのこと。
様子がおかしいと以前は言っていたね。でも元に戻ったとも、その後に。
様子は元に戻ったのだけどね。最近またちょっと様子がおかしいことはないの。ちゃんと話してくれるし、笑ってくれる。でもね、でも。
She couldn't find the words. Howard didn't ask her why. If she needed to say it, she would say it. Angelica was the sort of woman, so Howard waited without asking.
誰かとね、会うんだって。アーシェの知らない誰かと会うみたいなの。誰なんだろう。すごく気になる。
Ever heard of something like privacy?
君も知らない誰かか。
Howard nodded with a serious expression as he remembered. 1 month ago, he'd exchanged a number of words with a newspaper reporter. The scholar, Professor Chapek, had disappeared, so it was said that the killer on Queen Victoria Street that night was found to have committed suicide. Were those two incidents really connected, or were they completely unrelated? Zack had avoided the issue. Did it have anything to do with the fact that Lady Charlotte was still sleeping and Professor Chapek had disappeared? He didn't even know that. Not even whether Professor Chapek really was connected to the society, lurking in the depths of Europe. He hadn't made even one connection, he didn't know anything. There was only one thing: the rumors about the meta creatures had not gone away. Instead, the rumor had it they were still in London, even though the killer died. He whispered without realizing it, so softly it wouldn't even reach his beloved fiancée. You don't say.
なんとも不気味な感覚だ。嫌な予感は大概にして当たるというが。
Who's they?
何？ハード。
いや、なんでもないよ、ハニー。
Nothing. Yes, nothing's over yet, not one thing. The night has only begun, after all.
何一つ終わってはいない。何一つだ。
Oh, is that M's apartment? Looks kinda nice. It has a chandelier. Or how you call it. The voice spoke briefly, those were not words for starting a conversation. She knew without being told that he was not waiting for an answer. The voice from that man's lips was only for conveying information. That man. Yes, a black man who didn't suit this room at all. A room on the top floor of the Ritz, the owner of Suite 1502. She could see numerous high-rise buildings, the Houses of Parliament, and the Big Ben through the window behind him, a view of the West End. Westminster, the west side of London, historical buildings, high-rises, and the Queen's Palace were all located here. Yes, this was indeed a high-class hotel capable of attracting royalty and politicians. The room was simply gorgeous. If she had to describe it, she would call it an aristocrat's room. Handmade carpets and expensive furnishings, the likes of which even a middle-class citizen could only dream of. In a luxurious room that seemed like something out of a fairy tale, the black man strangely stood out. Mary gazed at the man over 10 feet away. The black man, his name was M, an initial, a code. About a month ago, on that day, on that night, at that time, this man wearing all black had held out his hand to her. Mary knew very little about him. His name was M. The man she thought had called himself Holmes once. No, now that she thought about it, he'd never had said his name. A man that wasn't Holmes, a black man, an agent from a criminal organization. A criminal organization, to be more precise, a secret organization gathering scholars. It had many names, but was only one group. That organization hiding in Europe. In Britain it was simply called the Society. Its activities ranged from innocent scientific experiments to the perpetration of serious crimes. Mary didn't know what this man's position was in the organization, or what he did, or why he did it. Because he hadn't told her, you could also say he wouldn't have answered if she'd asked, but that wasn't technically correct. He hadn't told her, that was all. Magic. He probably doesn't even know himself. Even though he told her that Professor Joseph Chapek was in the organization to begin with, and that he was in it himself, Mary had never dreamed of that possibility. It was probably true, but she'd only been told that a week ago he told Mary when she was unable to speak. Em had given her a cold look and told her briefly. It's probably one of the madmen, thought. And today as well, Mary received his cold stare. He glared dimly at her as purple smoke drifted from his cigar, one eye with a light color, his left eye alone seemed to overpower her. If he took off his eye patch with its weird pattern and glared at her with both eyes, could she have stood and faced him like this? She had faced this man in this room a few times now. Mary told herself deep in her heart not to be overpowered by him. She should have become used to seeing him like this once every week, and yet it still felt as though she'd be overpowered the moment she left her guard down. A somewhat relaxed voice, but also powerful and coercive. Mary didn't avert her eyes, but accepted his gaze head-on. As she did that, she recognized one other person at the edge of her vision. A person whose expression never changed, not when Mary entered this huge room or when she spoke to him.
背の高い人、美しく整った顔立ちに薄い色の人、陸軍服に身を包んだ人、モラン大佐。
Her full name was Sebastian Moran. She was a woman, yet she had a man's name. The beautiful person she remembered seeing in the square mile with Charlie. She hadn't forgotten that slender red uniform. A beautiful person, a quiet person. She should have been human. But it was almost as if she really was a doll. Her expression never changed. She only gazed intently at Mary. Always. Always. Last week, when they had confirmed her contract, Mary had gone out of her way to ask Em, who on earth is she? Is she really a soldier, or is she part of something else? To which Em answered, one of the very few questions he'd answered. He told Mary very briefly, without any emotion,
軍人ではない。俺の武器だ。
Weapon, huh?
それになあ、専用の演算装置でもある。
武器、演算装置、意味がわからない。たった一つ答えてくれた言葉がこれ。私はバカにされてるの？わからない。何も。何？
Yes. Everything was incomprehensible to Mary about Em and Moran. Everything seemed warped and incomprehensible to her. Over the past month, even articles in the Times had felt like lies. The difference between what the newspapers announced and what really happened. The monster of flame turned into a serial murderer. She couldn't even believe her uncle's telegram. What she'd experienced was different from the reality around her. To Mary, that made everything feel wrong and unpleasant, in a way she'd never felt before. However, she couldn't tell anyone. She couldn't get anyone else involved. Not Angie, not her uncle. Even if she had to lie to all of them, she couldn't let them get involved with that black city and those monsters. They could meet the same fate as Charlie. So she told no one, especially among those close to her.
お前がこちらへ一歩近づけば、俺がメタクリッターを殺すだろう。お前は餌だ。奴らを釣り上げるための生き餌。
ええ、分かっているわ。エム。
Was her voice shaking? Was she speaking with dignity? Mary opened her lips while receiving his gaze. He didn't say much, but Mary knew a number of things, the Black City and the monsters in her hazy memories. Yes, her memories were hazy, even though she hadn't been trying to forget it this time. Most of what happened in the Black City had grown hazy in a corner of her memory, almost like the city on a day of heavy fog. She couldn't remember clearly. All she remembered was trying to breathe quietly and run frantically. And those dregs of terror still felt strong. All the other events were hazy. She couldn't even remember them vividly. Even the appearances of monsters were vague in her memory. What he called the meta creatures were after her right eye, though she didn't know where they came from. They wanted her golden eye.
黄金道。そう。怪物と M は言っていた。私にも確認させて。いつもあなただけでずるいわ。
ほう、いいだろう。いえ。
私があなたの釣り絵でいれば、あなたの言葉通りにしていれば、そうすれば、友は目覚めると。シャーリーが無事に元の通りに目覚めてくれるのね。
そうだ。俺の指示に従えば、いずれシャーロットは目覚める。
本当なのよね。神様に誓って、あなたはそう言うのね。
ああ。
His mouth warped as he spoke, however, there didn't seem to be any emotion displayed on his face. His expression had certainly changed a little, but that was it. His expression changed, but nothing more. Mary couldn't tell what emotions lay behind that expression. Even if she gazed at his light-colored eye, nothing. Even if she listened to his cold voice, nothing. She just didn't know. Yes, not one thing.
お前につく嘘は一つだけだ、キティ。
そうですか。ああ、そう。そうですか。ホームズと誤解させたままだったくせに。でも、きっと彼は分かっている。言葉は冷たくて、威圧的で、横暴だけど。彼は決して愚かではない。分かっているの。名前を偽ったこと以外に嘘はつかない。彼はそう言っている。
The conditions were horrible. He had all the power when they made the contract, but Mary had no other choice. There'd be no point in trying to tell Scotland Yard about the Black City and the monsters. Uncle George's telegram was overjoyed about the discovery that the meta creatures were just a serial killer who was no dead.
ヤードも本当のことを知らない。私は彼を信じるしかない。M と名乗るこの男。
Mary suddenly averted her eyes. Something bothered her even more than his gaze, which she'd met every time she'd come to this room before. She looked at the woman who was standing slightly apart from M, but rather close to Mary. Colonel Sebastian Moran. He said she was his weapon and calculation device. He said she was his weapon, but she didn't know what that meant. Despite that, Mary could at least understand that Moran had known him much longer.
モランという人、あなたのこと私は知らないけど感心するわ。こんな意地の悪い男に貸し作るなんて。
Mean man.
主の誓いは絶対です。ご安心ください、メアリー・クラリッサ。
今私喋ってない。
Can Moran read minds?
ご安心ください、メアリー・クラリッサ・クリスティ。